Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for watching. Now if you're a wargamer with an Instagram algorithm anything like mine, you will have seen these orange brushes popping up all over the place with a big range of people, extolling their virtues and saying they're fantastic. So when something like that happens, I get curious. Now I ordered the set with all of the standard brushes in to really have a play. Now I've not had too much time with these brushes, but I have done the Death Guard model you see in here, which is the Chosen of Mortarion set, and I've also picked up Lieutenant Tight, as you can see there, which I'm about halfway through painting, doing a kind of speed paint on him and feature on the channel soon. And I've tried to do a variety of different sort of model things. So I've done some stripes on his helmet, I've done my standard Death Guard painting, etc., to really get in a sense of what these brushes are like. Now they've popped up fairly recently, they've not got a huge following on Instagram yet, but they're extolling their own virtues. So they're saying, why are we so cheap? We're a lean business model and we're going to balance, quality and price. Okay, fair enough. They also go on there a bit of a troll and say, where's the packaging? Now they're keeping costs down, so your brushes won't come in colourful cardboard tubes or silly wooden boxes, which to me is a direct dig at a couple of the model brushes that I actually have in my collection. We'll talk about those in a second. So there's a little bit of humour in how they're doing their marketing, and they do talk about brush care. One of the things they say here is we don't do brush soap because you don't need it, you can use shampoo, and they're not wrong. You can, but I do like a bit of brush soap. So we're going to look at how they got packaged. Now obviously I've been using them, but I did take some footage of when I unpackaged them. Just comes in a jiffy bag envelope, little card saying thank you for your order, which is always nice to see, and then the brushes themselves. So they do come wrapped in a little bit of plastic to keep them clean, ready for transport. And I ordered the set which gets you a 00, a 0, a 1, 2 and a 3. And I really do appreciate that. If you've watched the channel for the last year, you'll know that I did a review on the Wolf bristle brushes, which I've just shown you the tube of, and they come in a set of 10, and you get duplicates of certain sizes. And I really don't use the very small brushes very often. I typically paint more with a size 1 or a size 2, moving up to size 3 on larger models. I don't really use the kind of 00 and 0 very often. So I found with that set of 10, my 00 and 0s and things I've got in that set, the small sizes are perfect. The bigger sizes I'm ready for replacing it. Now you do get 2 of each in a set of 10, but at some point I'm going to have loads of spare small ones. So I really appreciate you can buy them individually as well as in a set. Now, talking through them, when I'm unpacking them, they're going to be in good condition because they've transported them, they always are. The tips are fairly pointy and they look really good quality. The handles, really nice wooden handles, and obviously these are sable brushes. And I'm going to do a comparison later in the video of the different brushes I've got. Now, this video is obviously very, very personal. This is how I paint, this is how I do. I am not a world-class Golden Demon level painter. So I'm going to come from that angle that these are, for me, the average style painter, what's my opinion going to be of them? Now, I did pay my own money for these, as I said, but I did get cheeky and I sent a message to Orange Brushes and said, I've seen you do discount codes. Any chance of having one for my followers if they want to get a bit of a discount? Because they typically do 10% discount codes. They did say yes, but they haven't sent me that code yet. So if they do finally send me it, I'll drop it in the description down below. So just so you know kind of where we're at, hopefully they will do and you can get a discount on it. Now, the brushes were really, really good, really impressed on first look. But with these last 2 brushes, this is where that kind of problem they're saying is we don't package them fancy, we don't do anything like that, could be a problem. So you can see on the plastic there a real distinct crack on that plastic. And I think what's happened at some point in the posting process, these have been bent quite badly, either going through the post box or in a postage bag. And you can see it's splayed out the heads of these brushes. Now, thankfully, that bend has only occurred on the bristles. And yes, it's splayed it out, but quick lick of the bristle tip and it's back to a point, and hopefully there'll be no long-term damage. And they do actually quite humorously in their bump on their website talk about how, lick your paintbrush, there's no problem, unless you've got paint on it, of course. I would avoid that. But again, 2 of them did turn up like that, which not a problem in this case, but maybe that's the point of putting a little bit of cardboard around them maybe, or a small thin box or that kind of stuff. So I get it, they're saving money, but potentially a risk of doing that. It's not going to stop me ordering in future. And I think at this point in the video, tell you, look, I will be using these brushes for a long time, and unless I see any critical problems, which I'll keep you updated on, I can see myself ordering them again and again because I have really enjoyed painting with them. I do think they're a really good balance between, again, price and quality that they're talking about. So on to comparing them with the range of brushes I've got, and we'll talk about prices. So this is my typical brush sets. These ones here are Rosemary & Co, and these are synthetic paint brushes. I did a video on these in July of 2021, so I've been hammering this set of 4 brushes for the last sort of 4 years, typically on metallics. So I've used them as my metallic ones because metallic paints can really wreck Kolinsky sable brushes, which obviously the higher end brushes like Orange are. So I've used them on metallics. I do need to do a bit of brush care on these because the ends are quite badly hooked over, which is a problem you can get with synthetics. The two smaller ones, like I said before, the 2.0 and the 0.0, are still in virtually perfect condition, because although I do use them, I don't use them anywhere near as much as the larger ones. It's a similar problem. Now, these are the wolf bristle brushes. These are the ones that came in a set of 10. About a year ago I did a video of them, and I've really enjoyed using them over the year, and they're a very good basic Wargamer's brush. But you can see there again, one of them is kind of losing its point, it's getting to the end of it, but I do have the spare from the set, which is, you know, a positive. So about price, actually, the synthetic Rosemary & Co are about £3 a brush. The wolf bristle you've seen are about £3.50, but it's hard to quantify because obviously there's all sorts of different sizes. Now, these are the brushes that I used to use all the time and never veered away from, really, for a number of years. The Army Painter brushes. Now, these are about £9 a brush, and these are Kolinsky Sable. And I think these are a really good direct comparison with the orange brush because they're the same sort of price, really. Now, when you look at the two, there's a slight difference in the tips and how the things are done together. I will say the Army Painter ferrule is crimped on better than the orange brush. You can just see the depth of crimping. I don't suppose that's going to make a difference. I don't remember ever losing a brush head on a brush, apart from something really cheap. And then moving up the scale to Artis Opus, and these are like your Ferrari brushes. You're paying sort of £15 for a size 1, £17 for a size 2. And comparing those, and again, ferrule wise, Artis Opus is on another level. And when you look at how the brush heads are put together, you can see the Artis Opus is that little bit thinner, a little bit pointier. Slightly different colour sable as well, actually, to be honest. Now, when painting with them, like I said, I've really enjoyed painting with the orange brushes. It's hard to quantify how a brush feels when you're doing it, but a nice simple test like this, where I'm just brushing the end of my finger over the end, you can see how it splays out. And you're going to notice that when you're painting. So you'll start your painting, you'll see the end splay out a little bit. You'll need to bring it back to a point in your water, in your mouth, as usual things, whatever. Do it on a bit of tissue if you don't like licking the brush. Now, you will notice that the Artis Opus ones, you can go a lot longer without having to do that. And I think that's the quality difference, really. The only thing I've really noticed, because again, I'm not that super high level painter. Now, is the difference of like £8 a brush in some cases going to be worth pushing up to the Artis Opus level? And orange brushes say it themselves. You know, you get these really expensive brushes, but you don't use them. And I'm kind of in that kind of camp, really. Comparing it to the Army Painter brushes, they're possibly slightly better than the Army Painter. It's again hard to quantify, but I think they're around the similar quality level. I would put the orange brushes slightly higher, but only again on first use. So when you're sort of balancing off whether I think they've probably got this quite right. I have really enjoyed painting with them, and between the three, you can see a quality difference between Artis Opus and I imagine any brush that you're going to spend £17 on. There's loads of high-end brushes out there, whether it be the Winsor & Newton high-end ones, Rosemary & Co, some really high-end ones that people have told me are as good or better than Artis Opus for a couple of quid cheaper. So one day I might experiment with that. So I suppose when you get to this level of Kolinsky Sable brushes, there's going to be sort of micro differences between them when you're paying around £9-10. Is it worth leaping up to that higher level brush of sort of £15, £16, £17? If you're an expert painter, it may very well be. But for me, when I look at my brush collection, these orange brushes, yes, have absolutely sort of knocked it out of the park in terms of the balance of quality versus price, and you'll see me doing them. Just showing you here two very, very old brushes, about 20 years old Games Workshop ones. I don't want to use them again because of fine detail, but just showing you I do use them, and probably would never buy Games Workshop brushes just because they're so expensive for their quality. So yeah, orange brushes, have a go. I really liked them. I'll see you again on the channel.